Noelle Okwedy is joining me right now. She's the energy analyst at Stears Business. Hello, Noelle. How are you? What a fantastic name. I get to hear Noelle during Christmas, the song around Christmas. Noelle, welcome to the program. So we're having Christmas in August. Welcome to the program. Can you hear me?
Yes, Nancy, I can hear you. Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Welcome to the show. Let's get started. The president working from home, perhaps one of the major things that he has done now is to sign the PIB into law, which is now known as the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. If we take a look at the journey, decades, years and years, perhaps since 2008, let's fast forward to September 2020 when the president presented the bill to the National Assembly. We saw that the Senate passed it July 15th, I guess. Then the House of Reps passed it July 16th. Then the president signing it August 16th. What a journey. Noelle, explain to our viewers what this means and perhaps how we have fared with this journey.
Okay, so like you said, it's been 20 years in the making. That's a long time. And the PIB is supposed to introduce fiscal and regulatory certainty to the industry. So before now, we had the NNPC, DPR, DPR and PPRA as regulators. But with the PIB now, we have some more transparency. So one of the things that the PIB strives to do or has done, sorry, the PIA, I should say,
Yeah.
is to incorporate the NNPC. So in over 43 years of its existence, NNPC did not publish any audited financial statements. There were no reports. We didn't know what was happening there. DPR and PPRA had their own issues as well, but the PIA is expected to fix these issues and achieve the overarching objective, which is to bring in investors to the industry.
How do you think that this would, okay, do you see an attraction of global capital into the fossil fuel industry, which we have in Nigeria with this signing? And how soon do you expect to see that?
Okay, so that's a big issue because, like, as we know, the world is moving away from fossil fuels towards more renewable sources of energy. So sources like even natural gas, which is still a fossil fuel, but it has less emissions. So that's where like investments are going towards, and even more for renewable sources. So that's something that the PIB has not addressed, like what Nigeria's movement towards renewable sources will be. But um, one thing that we know is that there's still, even though fossil fuels are moving away, there's still demand for oil, there's still demand for these sources of energy. How much the PIB has done to address these issues is something that we'll have to see in the coming months. So taxes have been reduced. There's now no tax, no hydrocarbon tax for deep offshore, which is where there's more supply right now just because of the issues in the Niger Delta. So it's possible that we could see investments in deep offshore, more investments, but that's something that we'll have to see just because of the global appetite for fossil fuel investments.
What do you think would be the sticky points now since the PIA is out right now? Of course, the information we have right now still indicates that perhaps President Buhari signed this bill into law with the 3% host communities fund. We know the brouhaha that we saw when the bill was passed between 3 and 5%. In fact, some host communities were saying we even needed more than 5%. And you saw how even the southern governors kicked against, the passage of that bill around the fund for the exploration of oil in frontier basins, mostly in northern states, receiving 30%. So how sticky do you see this? Even as the president has signed, you can see his signature there, How sticky are these issues?
Okay, so these are still very sticky issues. So the point of establishing the host community fund was to reduce vandalism and host community interference in oil production. if the host communities are not satisfied, even though the PIA states that any vandalism or cost to oil production will be deducted from the host community fund, which is also like a more sticky issue. But if the host communities are not satisfied, that could even lead to more issues for the country. So that is a major sticky issue. Another thing for me would be that 3%, 5%, 30%, whatever percentage that is agreed on, what is the basis for this percentage? So we know that these communities have seen significant damage to their communities, to their lands because of oil production. How was this 3% established? Is it going to fix their issues? Is it going to satisfy them? Already we're seeing that they are already saying that it's not enough. So there has to be a scientific basis for coming up with this amount, and these communities have to be satisfied for these issues to be resolved.
Let's take a look at the NNPC, because with this act now, the NNPC's activities will cease to exist as it is right now. Of course, there will be unbundling. We saw the news just a few days ago, that the NNPC is going about in terms of reshuffling, redeployment, trying to get ready for yesterday. So how do you see the NNPC, which will now be known definitely as the national oil company, it will not be the way it is going to be right now, perhaps. It's, going to turn private, hopefully go on the exchange, that Nigerians will now have shares out there. How do you see that unbundling, the uncoupling happening, at least within now the next few months, perhaps 6 months from now, as they say, if that is still workable?
So the PIA says that the incorporation of NNPC should happen 6 months from the enactment, which has already happened. So we've already heard reports, like you said, of NNPC reshuffling and making changes in management. So it's obvious that they're actually actively preparing for this incorporation. It's a good move, actually, because, like I said earlier, NNPC has struggled with transparency. There have been issues of not remitting royalties and taxes. And even though NNPC is a national oil company, it doesn't mean that it should act any differently from other oil companies, international and local. It should remit its taxes. It should operate as a commercial entity, which it is, and it should remit its royalties and taxes to the federal government as any other oil company. So under this NNPC Limited, I expect that we will see these changes as stated in the PIA. And yes, I think it's a good move. But for an NNPC IPO, that remains to be seen. Even though the PIA says that is something that can happen, we can see NNPC listed on the stock exchange, which will even bring more transparency, because they'll have to follow the SEC rules and other regulatory rules that they are not currently following. So I think it's definitely a good move for the NNPC and for its reputation.
Do you think that the monopolization that we've seen, at least in that sector, around the national oil company, do you think that with this PIA now, it's bringing it to rest, or we'll see, a duopoly, so to speak? There's a Dangote refinery by the side. We also have the 4 refineries in the country. How do you see all that playing out?
So I don't really see any conflicts there, because the PIA establishes 2 regulatory bodies. So there's the Upstream Regulatory Commission and the Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, which will regulate Dangote and the other refineries, while NNPC, as the national oil company, will be regulated by both, since it has both upstream and downstream responsibilities. So I think that if the regulatory bodies are independent, as is stated in the PIA, and do their jobs correctly, there shouldn't be any conflict in that regard.
Noelle, just as we end this session, what are the immediates that you expect to see since the president signed this yesterday? What are the things, at least, that you need to see in the near term between that yesterday and the next 3 months?
So first of all, we need to see the NNPC making we've already heard that they are reshuffling, but we need to see transfer of assets, liabilities to NNPC Limited. We need to see these changes actually happening. For the host community funds, it says that for existing companies, giving them 12 months to set up the fund and set up the board. So we need to start seeing those moves happen so that people can be assured, and also for investors to be assured that the PIA is here and is here to stay and is here to be enacted, because that's another thing that Nigeria kind of struggles with, like actually enacting acts and policies the way that we say that they are going to happen. So that's something that needs to happen soon for investor certainty.
Thank you very much, Noel, for speaking with me today. Let's continue to monitor that. Like they say, a game changer. And let's see really if it will really change the game, the way the game has been played for years. You know, that we've not really gotten so much from this. Perhaps we're suffering from what they call the Dutch disease. Thank you very much, Noelle. I've been speaking with Noelle Okwedy, who is the energy analyst at Stears Business. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Let's quickly take a break to bring in my second guest. My next session, I'll be looking at the performance of the equities market, talking also about the approval from SEC of unstructured funds. For those of you that are interested, you know, in investing right now, looking at, you know, you're running helter-skelter, looking at where to invest your money, not like the devil. It's the Bible that says the devil runs, you know, to and fro, looking for what to devour. But you